Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurimilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. This evening I'm going to narrate a story of some devotees in the Vallabh Sampradaya, which is prominent in Govardhan and Gujarat and Rajasthan. This concerns a man and his two wives who were initiated devotees in that sampradaya, and together they would in their home serve the deity of Krishna. And the man had a practice that he would go out into the town every day and find some devotee and call him to serve him with prasadam. Could recognize the devotees by their neck beads and tilak. So one day he went out, he wasn't finding anyone, and then he just saw someone sleeping near a well. He was covered with a blanket. And he saw the man was wearing a kantimala, neck beads. So he wanted to get him up and bring him home. But the man didn't say anything and didn't get up. So the husband of the two wives, he grabbed the hand of the man and tried to pull him up, but that man just insulted him. So somehow that man the husband brought the man to his home somehow and arranged for him to bathe and all these things. And he told his wives that he's a devotee, so you should serve him nicely. Of course, they were accustomed to serving devotees nicely, but this was an unusual case because the devotee, even though they were coming forward to serve him, he was behaving in a contrary manner. And actually the husband could understand that this man, he's actually a very exalted Vaishnava, even though he's behaving in a strange way. So then the husband, he himself bathed and performed all the morning duties, the puja and everything, offered arati. And then he invited the guest to come and take prasadam. But that man said, "I will never take my meal here. I refuse." So then the husband said, well, what do you want? And that guest said, "I want your first wife." And the host said, "All right, there are thousands of women in the world, you can take her." And so the first wife went before him and he said, "Give me your second wife also." So the guest said, "Well, if you leave your husband and come with me, I'm just a renunciant, I have nothing. What will you do if you come with me?" They said, "You're a devotee, we'll serve you, but first you please take your prasad here. First you please take your prasad here. Whatever else you want to do, you can do, but first please take your prasad." So the guest then said, "I want all of the wealth in this home and I want this house also." So the husband said, "All right, my house, my wives, my wealth, everything is yours, but please just take prasadam." So the guest said, "But I have one more condition." He said, "I'll take prasad here, but one more thing, you have to get out of this house right away." So the husband said, "All right, but I'll have to take my deity with me. I can't leave my Krishna. So it'll take a little time to arrange that, but in the meantime you take your prasad." The guest said, "Only when you and your Krishna go, then only I will take prasad." Then the husband bathed again and entered the temple. And Krishna, the deity, spoke to him directly, to that man. He said, "If that guest doesn't want to eat here, then let him go away. If you let him go away hungry, if he has so many conditions. And what are you going to do with me? What are you going to do with me?" Then the husband said, Anyway, whatever, we can think about other things afterwards, but devotees come to my home, I must give him prasadam. I can't send him away hungry. Whatever is required, I want him to take his meal here. So Krishna was very pleased with this, and so he told him, I'm very pleased with you. You have firm devotion to the devotees. And Krishna said that whatever you want, whatever benediction, and I'm now willing to give you. So the husband replied, I only want that this man will take prasad and he will be as happy with me as you are. So finally the guests sat down, even though the man hadn't left, but anyway he sat down and took prasad. So that guest sat down and he took prasad, and then he took prasad and he said, may you always serve Guru and Krishna and the devotees in this way. He said, actually I was behaving like that, I was just testing you. You are blessed and your bhakti is very firm. So thank you very much, and now I'll go. And the husband said, no, we can't let you go today. You have to stay at least a week with us. So he did that. He stayed for some days. And the guest, who was actually an exalted devotee, spoke so many things about Krishna to them. And the family members, they were very happy to hear about Krishna from him. And they requested, you just stay here forever. It's very nice, we're hearing such nice things from you. But after a week, the guest said, no, I have to go now. But the guest said, the family member said, no, can you stay a little longer? So he said, I'd like to spend more time with you, but I was going to Vrindavan, so I want to go there and have darshan of the Lord and Yamuna and see our Guru and visit the different places in Vraja Dham. And after that I'll come and spend some more time with you because you have genuine devotion to the devotees. So the husband and his wives, they let him go and they wanted to give him some money and clothing, but he said, I never asked for anything. So he was making a show of demanding everything, but actually he didn't want anything. But anyway, the family members, they gave him some clothes and some prasad and some other items. So in this narration, we learn about devotion to the devotees. Now that visiting devotee, in the beginning he wasn't really behaving as you would expect a devotee to behave. But the host, his attitude was that anyway, he's a Vaishnava, he has a relationship with Guru and Krishna, so even if he's not behaving properly, I should serve him in the best possible way. So this is a very good attitude. Of course, it can be misused. If someone says, well, I'm a Vaishnava, so I can do whatever I like, and you should just serve me anyway. Well, that can cause many problems. And it has caused many problems in the past because people, they just do whatever they like and they say, well, I'm a Vaishnava, I'm a Guru, and you shouldn't question anything. So devotees should have discrimination also. If someone says, well, I'm a Vaishnava Guru and give me your wives, then you may think, well, that's not really how a Guru is supposed to behave. Seems there's something wrong there. Of course, in this narration, everything worked out well in the end. And actually the husband, from the beginning, he understood that this bhakta, he's actually an exalted soul, so his behaving like that is for some special reason. In a purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada quotes a Bengali verse, the source of which I don't know. Jadi Nityananda Shurabari Jai Tatapi Shei Mo Nityananda Rai. That even if Nityananda goes to a wine shop, or a place where people drink wine, still I respect him as Nityananda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because it's understood that he must have some purpose for going there, and not that he's going there to become a drunkard. So we should be careful not to misjudge a Vaishnava. I remember many years ago in one country, some devotees came to me and they said that they lost faith in Jayapataka Maharaj because they were packing his bags and they saw some bars of chocolate in there. So I said, well, did you ask Maharaj why he had bars of chocolate in his bags? He said, no. So how do you know what he was doing with the chocolate? I explained to that person. I said, just like we're preaching in Bangladesh and our landlord, he's a Muslim, and he allowed us to, we're devotees when it's in a Muslim country. And the landlord, he actually, because we're Westerners, we can buy whiskey. He wants us to buy him whiskey. That's why he allowed us to rent the house from him. So actually the devotee who was overseeing me there, he wanted me to buy whiskey for him every month, but I didn't do it. But he was prepared to do that. So, and actually if I had done it, there wouldn't have been anything wrong in the sense that if it gave us anyway he let us stay, but the point is that for preaching we can do anything practically. So we don't know that, maybe Maharaj had that chocolate, someone in one of these countries asked him to bring some from overseas. We don't know. You should ask and see, because devotees have dedicated their life to Krishna. It's not, you don't presume that they're sense gratifiers. You have to see and ask. When the British governor came to Mayapur at the time of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati arranged that with a Calcutta hotel to serve them meat. If they hadn't arranged, then the governor wouldn't come, because they eat meat every day. So that is remarkable. But a Vaishnav Acharya, preacher, he may do some things which most people don't understand. So again, we have to be careful that someone may misuse this. Someone whose intention is pure and who is guided by Krishna, they can do anything, and the result will be auspicious for everyone. Just like Narad Muni took to his ashram the wife of Hiranyakashipu, and he instructed Prahlad, who was in her womb. So for a brahmachari to keep a woman with him, someone else's wife especially, is that's not correct. Just in case you might not know that. I hope you should know that. But the result in this case was that Narad instructed Prahlad, one of the greatest devotees in the history of the universe. But if someone else who's not very exalted thinks, well, okay, I'm a brahmachari and Narad Muni kept someone else's wife in his ashram, so I'll do that also. That will not have the same result. So what is suitable for some devotees may not be suitable for others. But still, from this story we see the attitude of serving the Vaishnavas. That is very good. And even if one thinks, well, this Vaishnava is not behaving properly, the fact that he does have a relationship with Krishna, even if he's not behaving properly now, that he is connected with Krishna, so we should still think of him as a special person. That vision is very helpful for avoiding offenses. Of course, in the matter of spreading Krishna consciousness, we have to be pragmatic also. Practical, you could say. If someone is a Vaishnava but they consistently behave very badly with people, then it might not be a very good idea to, for instance, give them charge of a preaching center, because they may scare everyone away. And the result of preaching is that no one becomes Krishna conscious. So there are pragmatic considerations. But at the same time, if someone has some bad habit or bad character trait due to their previous conditioning, still we should see that, well, they're chanting Hare Krishna, they're trying to become purified. Now at this, now we're in the year 2009, and it's not so easy to understand how in the mid-1960s Srila Prabhupada made devotees out of the rough people of America. Because if we see Srila Prabhupada's disciples nowadays, with maybe a few exceptions like myself, they're mostly quite nicely behaved. But Srila Prabhupada, when he went among the hippies, they were not so nicely behaved in general, and not very cultured, you could say. So Srila Prabhupada brought Western devotees to India, and many people criticize Prabhupada's disciples. You see, they can't pronounce Sanskrit. They don't even know any Sanskrit, and when they try to say some Sanskrit words, they can't pronounce them properly. And then how can you make them Brahmins when they're 1 year ago they were meat eaters, and now you're calling them Brahmins? How is it possible? And often Srila Prabhupada's disciples were very roughly behaved, even to the point of sometimes having fist fights. Once one life member came to Srila Prabhupada and he was very disturbed, and he said, I just saw two of your Western disciples, they were physically fighting with each other. And Prabhupada said that you're surprised that they're fighting, I'm surprised that they're chanting Hare Krishna. It's their normal tendency to fight, but when they're not fighting, which is actually most of the time, they're chanting Hare Krishna and trying to serve Krishna. So if from time to time they fight, that's not surprising because they've been doing it all their life, but then the fact that they're chanting Hare Krishna, that's something amazing. And actually nowadays, Prabhupada, they have become purified, and there aren't fist fights among at least the more senior devotees of our society. There may be, verbal disagreements, but at least they don't fist fight with each other. So Srila Prabhupada, he had great faith in the process of Krishna consciousness, that people will become purified by this. If people just stick to this process, that they will become purified. So that was Srila Prabhupada's mission, somehow or other that people should take to Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada knew that not everyone would be ready to take up chanting 16 rounds, following 4 principles immediately. And some people, they might like to chant Hare Krishna and Kirtan, but they might not come to that level even for maybe their whole lifetime, which is one reason why Srila Prabhupada wanted to organize Varnashram communities, in which people who, they're not, you could say they're not very deeply spiritual, but they like Krishna consciousness, they can come and live with devotees and do some work, and then join in the kirtans and take prasadam, and in this way be in contact with the Krishna consciousness process. somehow or other people should have the opportunity to chant Hare Krishna, associate with devotees and take Krishna prasadam. And it requires a lot of tolerance to preach also. On one hand, we're asking everyone to come to a very purified platform. On the other hand, we find that people there, manda sumanda mateo, their minds are very weak also, and many people, they don't have a very strong resolve to dedicate themselves in Krishna's service. But still we have to encourage everyone to take to Krishna consciousness as best they can. And again, with that, there's no excuse or there's no justification for misbehaving in the name of bhakti. But still, from another perspective, if someone is attempting to serve Krishna, then that should be encouraged and glorified, even if they are not on the highest level of devotional behavior. So those are a few thoughts after narrating that story. And if anyone has any question, they can kindly ask it now. Yeah, read it out in Tamil and then in English. So read it loudly in English. Not everyone here is expert in Tamil.
After taking initiation from a spiritual master, if a devotee haven't practiced devotion properly, then that aparad, that offense, will go to whom? Either the spiritual master or the devotee.
Why is that question being asked?
Question is, to whom that offense?
Yeah, but why is that being asked? What's the idea? Can I get away with it? I'll dump it all on my guru. Prabhupada criticized that Christian bogus philosophy that you go on sinning and Jesus, He'll suffer for you. It's not necessary that everyone be pushed forward or that they push themselves forward for initiation. They should be ready and committed, and then why think that I'll take initiation and if I don't follow, then what will happen? And then don't take initiation. If you're thinking of not following, then don't take initiation. That's all. After initiation, there should be no thought of, now I don't want to follow, so I'm going to get the reaction, or shall I dump it all on my guru? The worst reaction is that you lose the opportunity of gaining Krishna consciousness. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, we all follow your Hare Krishna consciousness to chant 16 rounds, not to it morning. But don't you think in this world it's more important to be honest, be sincere, do your duty also, see your parents also. I see many of them coming up, chant, have prasadam. But who makes the prasadam? The efforts done by a devotee who makes prasadam, the service. I somehow feel the service is somehow being lagged. It is hard work, honesty, punctuality, those things are which we are supposed to be. Just I'm asking a general question, please don't take it otherwise.
Can you say it in Tamil also?
Tamil, I think I'm not so...
Then Jai Gopinath, I couldn't even follow what the question is. I'll ask you to translate it for me. I don't know what the question is, but anyway, if you know what it is, you can translate it into Tamil. No. We couldn't understand what the question is. Or maybe it was a statement.
What I'm trying to say is, we are supposed to chant 16 rounds and follow Hare Krishna consciousness to go to a higher level, to go to the feast of the Lord. That's the final goal. But don't you feel like honesty, like speaking the truth always, and doing your duty and doing hard work, punctuality, sincerity, all those also should be stressed upon as citizens of this world or as humans? I'm just giving you one.
Okay, did you understand now what the question is? Okay. What were the things you said? The first thing you said was honesty, always speaking the truth. Well, that's not always a good policy. Sometimes it's better to tell lies. Just like, for instance, I regularly go to certain Muslim countries, and at the immigration they ask me, what are you coming for? And I say, just for visit, tourism. It's not true. I'm going there to preach Krishna consciousness. If I say, then if I speak the truth, then my purpose will be undone. If I meet a politician and I speak the truth about their character, that's not a very good policy. The politicians are powerful and dangerous people. It's better to flatter them, which is what they want. Otherwise, they create so many problems for you. You don't gain anything from speaking the truth about them. They don't change. So, or if, just for instance, we may purchase some land for our building a temple, and in all the land offices, nothing works without bribes. So we may have to give also. Otherwise, Krishna's work doesn't get done. If you want to be absolutely honest, and then you can't do anything in this world. So honesty is, for pragmatic reasons, it's very nice to say always be honest, but it doesn't work, actually. And I think you must know that yourself. You're living in this world. You can't, just like, for instance, if you want to do a land deal, you have to do some bribe also. You can't live in this world otherwise. So it's not very practical to insist on complete honesty. And other things, you said, what, sincerity? Well, it's a very vague term. You have to see it in the various contexts. The actual sincerity is to understand what is the actual purpose of life and to pursue that. To act in such a way that we simply get born and suffer again and again. We may very sincerely perform our duty as a materialist, but the result is inauspicious for ourselves and for everyone else. So what's the use of that so-called sincerity or so-called following our duty? So to be a punctual, sincere, honest, dutiful fool is useless. A very moral person, but no idea of the goal of life, and therefore completely spoiling your life. So actually only someone who's a pure devotee of Krishna can be sincere, honest, dutiful in the actual sense of the term. Everyone in this world, except devotees of Krishna, act with the intention of directly or indirectly exploiting others. Only a devotee actually acts for the benefit of others, because Krishna Bhakta Nishkam, a devotee has no personal desire. He only desires to please Krishna. You had a question, Amarendra, go? No, you don't want to ask it now.
Hare Krishna, how much will this movement grow in the next 10,000 years?
Translated. Well, I'm not an astrologer. I don't know if it would be very helpful even if I was. You make it grow by one immediately. You yourself take to Krishna consciousness. Others, that's up to them. But you yourself, you dedicate yourself to Krishna. Grow means there's consideration of quantity and quality. So just bringing in lots of people and rubber stamping them and saying, look how our movement is growing, that is not very valuable. You want to see how people are actually becoming Krishna conscious. Otherwise, there are so many so-called spiritual leaders who have many followers, so-called followers. It's easier to get followers when there's nothing to follow. So Srila Prabhupada often said that we are like diamond merchants. Those who are selling glass beads, they may have many customers, but those who are selling diamonds, they don't have many customers. But nevertheless, the diamond is always more valuable than the glass beads. Another example, Ekas Chandras Tamohanti Kingna Taragano Picha, that one moon is sufficient to dispel the darkness more than many, many millions of stars. So you become a moon. Any questions from the ladies? One hand is up over there. No, speak it in the mic, because not everyone understands. Apart from me, there are others also who are not fluent in Tamil. I'm not fluent.
The question is that I am coming new to this place, but I like this. My question is that women always has to depend on someone else, either to their parents when they are a child, later their husband, or later their children. Even if they want to do something, if they go out and do something independent, the world is looking something different at them. Why this kind of bad situation for the women? I feel that only women are getting this kind of problem a lot.
Well, everyone in the material world has problems. Any men here think that they don't have any problems? It is a fact that women by nature are dependent. There's a lot of propaganda at the present time that women should be independent. But actually women suffer from this. One of my bodily sisters, who I haven't seen for about 40 years or so, she was staunchly independent all her life. She never married, and now she's old and no friends and no children and no husband. And that's the result of her independence. So in the great cycle of birth and death, we go through many, many species, and each birth or life just lasts for a short time. We get various situations according to our karmic reactions. And in the human body, it is understood that the female form is for one whose karmic reaction is not as good as those who are in the male form. So it is somewhat of a handicap, that's true. Again, it's not that the man's life is one of just complete bliss. But anyway, in Bhakti, the social handicap of being a woman, that is not an obstacle. And in fact, we see that often women, they're more naturally inclined toward Bhakti than are. So although there may be some some obstacles to social progress, there's no obstacle to spiritual progress, which is the most important, or the only important thing. So please chant Hare Krishna and understand that you're not a woman. You are an eternal Atma, servant of Krishna. Having attained a certain kind of body, we have to act in accord with the social demands that go with that. So in Krishna consciousness, we recommend that women, side by side with their Bhakti dharma, they also perform Stri dharma to live as peacefully as possible, as peacefully as they possibly can in this very disturbed age. All right? Of course, Stri dharma nowadays, the whole society works against that. They're encouraging the women to be airline pilots and soldiers in the army and all kinds of crazy things. Someday these crazy people might have the amazing realization that women's bodies are designed to have children. And the natural psychology of a woman is to want to be a mother. So to try to make them into soldiers is artificial at best, or anything else for that matter. Anyway, I might get chased out for saying this because there's such opposition these days to, well, there you are. You want someone to speak the truth and be honest? If you're honest and say that women in so many ways they're inferior to men, they should be dependent upon men because that's the way their body and their mind is designed, you have to be quite bold to say that nowadays because people, they'll hate you for that. All right. Of course, nowadays they're promoting that women should be gurus in ISKCON. Anyway, don't tell them that. They'll find out sooner or later anyway. All right, anything else?
Maharaj in his lecture told that Prabhupada's disciples initially had some even twist fighting.
Not all of them, but it was not uncommon. I mean, it wasn't that it was a daily occurrence everywhere, only in some places.
But later they become very nice devotees. So now Prabhupada's disciples are there. Some of them are having problems here and there. So for them,
everyone has problems. It's not some, everyone.
For them to behave properly, what is the advice?
Behave properly. That's all. What does proper mean? Proper means how to serve Guru and Krishna in the best possible way. Sometimes that includes fighting. When one of our temples in America was attacked by a gang, Prabhupada instructed to get guns. Practical. We have one ashram in Govardhan, which is from the external point of view in Mathura district of Uttar Pradesh, where there are several killings every day, and there's so much crime there. So I asked the devotee who's overseeing that ashram. I said, well, you don't seem to have much problem from thieves or dacoits or anything. I said, how is that possible in this place? And he pulled out from the corner from behind the almirah one gun, and he said, this is why. Practical. We are here to serve Krishna. It's a bad world. Not everyone appreciates the endeavor to serve Krishna. So we have to serve Krishna in a bad world in a manner that is appropriate for serving Krishna in a bad world. If we just want to be great sadhus and chant Hare Krishna and don't lock the gates at night, then everything will be stolen. We're so absorbed in bhakti that we forget to lock all the gates. Or we don't think it's necessary because we see everyone as a great sadhu. Hare Krishna. We'll finish there. I think some devotees have come from quite a long distance. So please all take prasadam. and chant Hare Krishna and have great faith in this process of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming, especially those who have taken the trouble to come from quite a long distance. Some of the things I mentioned tonight might be considered somewhat controversial. Due to time restriction, I wasn't able to discuss these points in more detail. So if you have any doubts about it, then you can please ask other devotees, because it might surprise you, even though I gave the reason that in our temples, some of the temples we may keep a gun. That may surprise you. It seems contradictory. For instance, but not only should we have a gun, but we have to let everyone know that we have a gun, and then it will serve its purpose. Not only should we have a gun, but we should let everyone know that we have a gun, and in that way it will serve its purpose. We don't want them to find out by getting shot. All right, who is that? Shoot them. All right, I won't shoot them. I'll sign. If anyone, there's a bookstall at the back, and if anyone wants to, some of the books I've written, and if anyone wants, I can sign them. And if you don't take a book, I won't shoot you today. Some other day. Thank you very much. Brahmanandri. Sorry, that's all the Tamil I know. All right. Madhurena samapet. Everything should finish with a sweet. Or sweetly. All right, let our mothers come first and take prasad.